long as developers basically implemented at least one of the new features that was introduced to the protocol in 2020, they could build anything they wanted, right? Now, it's worth noting those features are new to everyone. Several aren't even available yet on the public network, although they likely will be on Monday after validators vote on the Protocol 15 upgrade. Quick note, please, please, please update your software before then. Trust me, you will thank me if you do. So we were interested in seeing intuitive and user-friendly products that explore the possibilities that the new features open up. So we asked them to build something. The catch, they only had 10 days to do it. And so we left it up to you, Meridian, to decide on the winner and to determine how to allocate the $12,000 worth of lumens in prizes. So all week, we've been asking you to head to the hackathon page and cast your vote. And I hope you did, because democracy. Democracy worked. We tallied the votes. I'm told we have our winner. We're going to start with 5th place and work our way all the way to 1st. So without further ado, I really wish I could get Questlove for this to do a drum roll, but drum roll, please. In 5th place. 5th place goes to Weris, which aims to promote financial planning and management by making claimable funds self-manageable, easy, and safe. 5th place goes to Weris. Woo! In 4th place, drum roll please. 4th place goes to Meza. Meza makes it easy for chamas to keep their financial records in check and helps them stay up and running during the pandemic. Congratulations, Meza. 3rd place goes to Pagas. Pagas is an online platform that facilitates the sale of products by creators directly to consumers using Stellar. Very handy. You ready for our 2nd place winner? In 2nd place, drum roll please. Blockbill. Blockbill is a decentralized blockchain expense management system for personal and business expenses powered by the Stellar network. And finally, our #1 top prize goes to Intrip. Intrip enables offline payments for traveling anywhere in India for the masses. It's completely cashless and contactless for the post-COVID-19 Indian travel economy. So that's it for a hackathon. Thanks so much for voting. Thanks for everyone who participated and submitted a project. There were tons and tons and tons of great projects, and they really showed what you can do with some of Stellar's new features. And that's it for the hackathon. And now, sadly, day 4 of Meridian is coming to a close. It is definitely bittersweet. It feels like a good time to reflect a bit on what we've learned and to talk about where we're going. It is time for Lisa and I to say goodbye. And I also want to say that we've had an incredible time with you, and to hand the stage over for that final reflection to our CEO and Executive Director, Danelle Dixon, who's going to share her parting words for this week. Danelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Justin and Lisa. And I think you guys need to take some lessons from the Roots on how to drum, because everything was awesome about that whole presentation except for the drumming. So thank you guys. We're going to get started on the conclusion of our 2020 virtual Meridian. So we're going to get the slides up in just a second. There we go. So first off, this week, wow. We are so grateful for all of you that joined us and all of the speakers that told their stories and made Meridian come to life. We had 2,000 registrants from 79 countries. We might have been virtual, but it didn't stop all of you from engaging. You sent more than 3,000 chat messages, submitted 720 quiz responses, submitted 300 questions. We've gotten to jam during the session breaks with the Roots, unwind with mixology, play games together on Twitch, yoga and meditation, and just hanging out together virtually. The team that put this together for us at SDF is amazing and deserves so much thanks. Lauren, Jordan, Aditi, Caroline, Zach, Anka, and Mihan. And you may not know their faces, but you see their work. It's been phenomenal. And thanks to the leaders of our ecosystem team, Justin and Lisa, for providing the roadmap for us throughout the week. You all tuned into over 90 speakers, 45 sessions, with so many fascinating insights about how we create global connections to solve real world challenges. Many of our speakers left me so inspired. From Jim Kim, the former president of the World Bank, who said, "There's no question that access to financial services, access to platforms like Stellar are going to be a critical part of opening up the world." And he was confident that our technology would be invaluable to international organizations like the World Bank, which is a perfect segue into my panel with Stella McCann from the World Bank Group, who shared how from our own exploration with blockchain and the Stellar Development Foundation, we looked into how blockchain can help us improve traceability and visibility into our own World Bank loan disbursements. This learning is very important for us, and we're sharing it with our client countries, other teams across the bank, and other colleagues in the ecosystem. And we heard from leading innovators like Sir Tim Berners-Lee about building systems with intention, as he emphasized the motivation of these systems, of course, is not building systems for the sake of systems. Rather, when I think about the future, I want us to build apps that promote science and democracy and trust and inclusion. And speaking of inclusion, we had President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first elected female president and winner of the Nobel Prize, talking about how important it is to solve remittances to empower the marginalized. She said, remittances transferred from the global north to the south go to such a high price. And at the same time, capital flow from underdeveloped countries to the rich countries and leaves the countries from which these resources flow in a state where they can't sustain themselves and financial systems do not grow enough. One of the major highlights for me, well, was the amazing use cases that we highlighted this week. And as I talked about on Monday, Stellar powers each of these entities and so many more as they are solving the prevalent needs in their regional markets. Each of these entities from all parts of the world comprise our ecosystem and are part of the solution that we are collectively building as we seek to achieve a world in which where you live and what you have no longer prohibit you from participating in the financial system. It's simple. Equitable access is not a privilege, it's a right. And at Meridian, we have showcased not the promise of blockchain, which is what everyone always talks about, but rather we showcase the achievements blockchain has already made, solving real world problems with global connections. And that's what Stellar was created for and what SDF was set up to support. And so now I want to remind you of SDF's role. I want to remind you of who we are and what we do so that each of you can not only engage with us, but can hold us accountable to our words and to our work. We are a nonprofit, non-stock Delaware corporation. Not having shareholders is important to us because we are not beholden to any person or group. We are focused and beholden only to our mission. We're not a charity. We pay taxes to the US and to the state of California, and we use the capital and the assets that we have to make Stellar a success, to ultimately achieve our mission, creating equitable access to the global financial system. We named our annual conference Meridian for a reason. We are like a meridian. We're not at the center of this ecosystem or of Stellar. We are not the focal point. All of you are. Rather, we are connecting the shining lights, all of you around the globe, like a meridian does on a world map. We act as a convener and an aggregator of information, supporting what you're doing on the network through advocacy, relationship building, and proposals about the code base. Our work reflects the momentum and changes inherent in a growing, living network. And as I shared with you last year, our work has been focused around 3 primary pillars. These pillars help to guide our work at SDF and help us to ensure that we are continuing to work towards a larger strategy. And 2020, well, it found us working hard to live up to the goals that we set around each pillar. Now, the words on this slide don't really reflect the effort, the impact, and the results we worked hard to achieve in 2020, but it highlights some of the work that we did in our pursuit of growing this network. This is obviously not all of the work. We added anchors in regions all over the world and put attention towards making integration on the network simple and easy, which supported the strong growth in the use cases and usage of the network. And I told you last year when I was standing in Mexico City at Meridian that 2020 was going to be Stellar's year. And we've seen such tremendous growth of the network. So let's start with a look at the network, what it looked like in 2019. And now let's see how it's grown to today. None of this is possible without each of you. The work that you're doing and the trust that you put into the network, and collectively, we should all celebrate this movement. This slide shows the increase of each statistic that we look at to determine the health and growth of the network. An increase in total accounts, total payments, total assets, and total operation. It really is important to celebrate these increases as they show that the activity is on the rise and growing. And in April of 2020, we hit 1 billion operations on the network since 2015. This in and of itself is a great milestone. But when you couple that with the fact that in 2020 alone, we are on target to see over 900 million operation, it shows maturity. So while it took us some time to hit that 1 billion number, it now seems that we may be on track to do that on an annual basis. And in the end of 2019, we began looking at what we called meaningful assets on the network, which we defined as an asset tethered to a real financial instrument. This was just another key performance indicator for us that we wanted to watch over the course of the year to help us assess whether it is an indicator of real growth. And we now think it is. Meaningful assets, we've gone from 49 to 79, a 61% growth. And some of that growth is coming from our anchors. We have now 25 anchors live on the network, and they are driving 5x more meaningful asset volume today than we saw at the same time last year at Meridian. And when our ecosystem grows, so do we at SDF. At the beginning of 2019, we were 12 employees strong, and we were from 3 different countries. We grew a lot in 2019, yet we grew methodically and rationally, focusing on the talent that we needed to support the needs of the ecosystem and the growth of the network. And in 2020, we are closing the year just under 80 employees in 10 different countries as we stretch ourselves to support the needs of many of you and the future participants in our ecosystem. We need to make sure that we don't stop focusing on the future needs of the network, so that we can support what we see happening today on the network and are building for what we see coming down the pike. Each and every one of the employees that we have at SDF are here because they are committed to the mission and they want to work to make this network even more of a success. So what does success look like? The $10,000 or $1 million question? Well, achieving our goals is one way to be successful, and we have massive goals. We constantly try to focus on the mission, creating equitable access to the global financial system, which is something that is not achievable overnight, but can be achieved in bite-sized chunks. And that's how we look at our annual strategy work, and how we also peg our work against our 2025 goal, which is to be the global payment standard, interoperable with the financial system and enhancing its work to support an ever-growing body of use cases. So we took some stock where we are this year, and then we focused on where we need to be in 2021 in order to move us even closer to our goals and our mission. We know that we need to continue to build the anchor network. We know that we need to continue to support and grow more use cases. And we know that we need to make sure that the network continues to be able to scale. But we don't know everything. So we pulled together some Tiger teams focused on researching and understanding, and we developed more questions and some answers. First, on DEX liquidity. Second, on what are the most common use cases on Stellar. Third, whether we need to reconsider how we approach network participation and running nodes and validators. Fourth, the existential risks to Stellar. And there are many, and some are big. And finally, how we should approach the geographic focus. So we formed some initial conclusions around each of these topics. First, on DEX liquidity, we decided that we need to tackle this in 2021. And at the least, at a first blush, we didn't think we needed to make changes to core to do so. While this may be part of the solution, we can analyze that as we focus on other options. So next on the use case piece, we concluded that the most common use cases that we are going to see in 2021 are business to business cross-border payments, customer to customer cross-border payments, USD savings and tokenized assets, and securitized assets. And then also towards the end of the year and maybe into 2022, we'll see more digital cash and payment processing. We believe the network is in a great place with respect to B2B and C2C cross-border payments, and with respect to savings and tokenized assets and securitized assets. But we think we have some work to do for the digital cash and payment processing. So we developed this SideNet project that I'll talk about in just a bit. And on network participation, we concluded that we need to continue our work at engaging with those who run nodes and validators, thank you, by the way, and listen to them and respond to them and then continue to grow that base, but that we're generally in a good spot as we approach 2021. And on the existential risks, well, as with any network, with any software, with any platform, there are many, but we have taken to focus on these around the code and ensuring that we consistently protect and test it. And finally, with respect to geographies, we need to grow from what we have, but we need to grow in a way that supports the current geographies and pairs them nicely with other geographies that will work well with them. And so after all of that work that we did on our strategy internally, we concluded that all of the current work and the work that we need to do in 21 still lines up to support these three pillars. And I want to highlight a few pieces of that work so that you know what we're tackling in 2021. So we have already seen some of this work in Protocol 15, where we're focused on ensuring the robustness and usability of Stellar, but focusing on the technical requirements of the top use cases. So that work that we've already seen with claimable balances and sponsored reserves, that work was brought on by listening to the needs in the use cases we already have. So we'll continue to consider those needs as we work with other participants in the ecosystem and as more and more of these use cases are developed. And then with respect to DEX liquidity, it's important. We've heard you. It's the one constant that I hear from you time and time again. And I want you to know that we're listening. We believe that the Stellar DEX is such an important part of what Stellar has to offer, and we need to focus on how to make it even more user-friendly. We have these options that we're going to consider, which we're going to continue to integrate with OTC solutions. We're going to explore if the network is able to use and support automated market makers. And then we're also going to consider other fiat local fiat deposit and savings options. So we're going to look at these and we're going to continue to see if there are other changes that need to be made. Importantly, this is one of our top priorities for 2021. And then with respect to the setup, making sure that we're set up for growth, we always need to be focused on scaling as volume increases. This year will be no different for us in that. The work that we do on the network today is for the future, just like the work that we did on the network last year is for now. We constantly have to be working towards the needs of tomorrow. And that's why we also see that one of the scaling requirements is to ensure that Stellar can support use cases with high transaction throughput and that may have the need for some privacy. So we're focusing on developing a SideNet or a private ledger. We welcome the naming options. Maybe we're not so good at the names, that has interoperability with Stellar so that you can move payments from the mainnet to the SideNet and accounts and vice versa, and has the possibility to be run privately to accommodate certain use cases and regulation. We're focusing on having an MVP in early 2021 and a full production solution by the end of year 2021. And one of the important pillars is being the blockchain that people know and trust. And we keep hearing that in the US, we see companies flee this market because of unstable landscape. I can't tell whether this is actually happening, but importantly, we would like to see the US, just like global policy, create stability and foster growth in blockchain. And we're going to use our tools to advocate for legislation that helps eliminate that urgency that we hear. This will also help us to get Stellar itself to become more broadly known in US policy. This doesn't mean that we aren't focused elsewhere, because we are. We would also just like to support policy needs in our own backyard. And then also, we made 3 investments this year from the Enterprise Fund. And we've brought some new participants and ideas onto Stellar. And we're going to continue to flesh out our investment criteria and investment thesis and work to support more breadth in the ecosystem using the fund. It's a great way to create, and it helps with that virtuous circle. So we'll continue our work there as well. And this one area, which may not seem to be at the top of the list, but it does feel right for me, in that we need to create deeper channel partnerships with consulting firms that advise governments and financial institutions about blockchain. We think that this can help make it easier for those firms to support integration work on Stellar. And so we're going to put some attention to that in 2021. And then importantly, we think fostering sustainable use cases, one of the important pillars that we have, is also in some of our work in Vibrant. So we're going to significantly increase and focus on the significant increase of our user base with Vibrant. And then we also intend to add at least one new market and add at least one new feature in 2021. And with respect to the fostering sustainable use cases, as I mentioned, meaningful transactions on Stellar really support that. And so as we saw this year, growing meaningful assets through our anchor partnerships grows meaningful transactions on Stellar. So we would like to see that 5x growth of the meaningful asset transactions and at least 4 additional corridors active and strong by the end of 2021. This means we need to grow Stellar, but mostly we need to work to grow our anchor network and those that are leveraging these meaningful assets. So that'll be a big focus of our work with respect to use cases. And that's how we'll keep lighting up the Stellar map. This is our 2021 strategy. Our goal is to keep providing the energy to light up the map. I look forward to looking at this map next year to see how much it glows. So I want to thank all of you for attending this week. That's it for us here, live from Meridian, but there's still plenty of networking to be done. So please take advantage of connecting with your fellow attendees. And let's wrap this up with some entertainment from the Roots. Thank you all again for caring about Stellar, for participating in Meridian, and enjoy your time.